There is a place, my friends, where even the humblest act, such as where you set your shoes, becomes the silent author of fortune or famine. For what you leave behind in one place of consciousness, you carry into another. Tonight, I will show you why to leave your shoes in one place is to walk forever in poverty, and why to place them aright is to tread the path of abundance. It is written, every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you. Pause with me for a moment and listen carefully, for hidden in these simple words is a law that shapes the destiny of all men. The shoe upon the foot is but a shadow. The true soul is your awareness, your consciousness. Wherever you consent to stand inwardly, that ground becomes yours. You may stand in the wilderness of lack, or you may stand in the promised land of plenty. The choice is ever before you. But most men, ignorant of this law, leave their shoes in barren places and wonder why they reap dust instead of harvest. To tread upon a place is not to walk there physically, but to abide there in imagination. Consciousness is the only reality. What you claim inwardly, whether by faith or by fear, manifests itself outwardly in your world. When Joshua was told that every place the sole of his foot should tread upon was already given to him, it was not a command to march across deserts and hills, but an invitation to occupy states. For states are places, and consciousness alone is the land of promise. If you tread upon wealth by assuming its feeling, it is given to you. If you tread upon poverty by yielding to its thought, it too is given. There is no partiality in this law. It answers with perfect fidelity to the ground upon which you stand in the secret depths of mind. Do you not see that the outer world is but a mirror, reflecting where you last left your shoes? If the mirror shows you want, it is only because your consciousness has wandered into the wilderness. If the mirror shows you abundance, it is because you have taken possession of the fertile fields within. Man looks at the reflection and cries, "Why is life so unjust?" Not knowing he himself has chosen the place where his soul abides. The law does not punish nor reward, it simply reflects. As the water answers the face, so the state answers the soul. Now, when I speak of leaving your shoes in poverty, I do not mean the physical act of walking through slums or standing upon barren ground. I mean that inwardly, in the temple of imagination, you have accepted the role of one who has little, one who fears tomorrow, one who bows before lack as though it were master. That acceptance is the placing of the shoe. And the law being perfect, you walk forth into a life shaped by that invisible consent. But blessed is the man who takes off the shoes of fear and puts them on in the courts of thanksgiving, for he shall find his world arrayed with the treasures of heaven. Listen again to the words, every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you. It is already given. It is not promised for a future day. It is yours the moment you tread upon it. The moment you occupy the state of wealth, wealth is given. The moment you assume health, health is given. The moment you abide in freedom, freedom is given. Do not wait for evidence to confirm it. Evidence is the shadow, consciousness is the substance. If you wait for proof before you believe, you have left your shoes in the place of doubt, and doubt will answer you with delay. Now let me reveal to you the inner law. The law is assumption. The law is that you become what you consent to imagine as true. Consciousness is the only reality, and assumption is the sole cause of all manifestation. If you dwell in the state of lack, rehearsing its feelings and expecting its outcome, you bind yourself to its poverty. If you dwell in the state of abundance, savoring its sweetness and walking in its confidence, you call forth its manifestation. Where you dwell in imagination, you eventually dwell in fact. That is the law. You must therefore guard jealously the place where you leave your shoes. Do not leave them at the door of complaint, for complaint multiplies itself. Do not leave them at the gate of fear, for fear is a cruel landlord and will charge you dearly. Do not leave them upon the steps of envy, For envy corrodes the soul and leaves you poorer still. Place them only at the threshold of thanksgiving, at the altar of fulfillment, at the mansion of joy. There wealth answers, there health arises, there every blessing blooms. To live by this law is to know that nothing comes to you from without. All things come from within. Poverty is not a thing thrust upon you by others, it is the shadow of an inner dwelling. Wealth is not bestowed by fortune, it is the reflection of an inner consent. When Scripture says the silver is mine and the gold is mine, saith the Lord, it is declaring that all treasure belongs to the I am within you. If you would possess it outwardly, you must first possess it inwardly. The ground you tread upon in consciousness becomes your inheritance in time. Consider the image of the shoe. The shoe is that which touches the earth, the point of contact between your invisible state and the visible world. To leave your shoe in poverty is to establish contact with lack. To place it in abundance is to establish contact with plenty. And the ground you touch will cling to you. Dust from the wilderness will stain your garments, but fragrance from the garden will perfume your days. Where will you stand? Where will you leave your shoes tonight? The law is impartial, yet men perish for lack of knowledge. They bow to appearances, thinking the shadow is the cause, and so they continue leaving their shoes in barren places. They rise each morning and walk the same road of want, not realizing they could step, in imagination, into another land entirely. One moment of conscious assumption would alter the map of their destiny. For the unseen is the only real, and the seen is but its echo. Let me tell you, states are infinite. There is a state of wealth, a state of poverty, a state of joy, a state of sorrow. Each is a land, a kingdom, fully furnished, awaiting the traveler. When you assume a state, you enter its land and dwell among its conditions. If you remain, you become native to that land. You need not struggle to acquire its blessings. They are the natural atmosphere of that place. Enter the state of wealth, and wealth surrounds you. Enter the state of poverty, and lack is your portion. The choice is always yours. And so I say again, never leave your shoes in the place of want. Do not surrender to its suggestion, even for an hour. For hours become days, days become years, and soon you have lived a lifetime in poverty. Instead, even now, though the outer evidence may deny it, place your shoes in the house of abundance. Imagine the floor beneath you polished and rich. Imagine the sound of laughter, the sense of security, the fragrance of plenty. Feel the ease of one who possesses and rest there. That resting is the leaving of the shoe. That resting is the assumption that creates. The world without may whisper that you are deceiving yourself. But the world without is but a servant, a shadow, an obedient slave to the command of consciousness. If you persist in leaving your shoes in wealth, though the ground about you now looks barren, the desert will bloom. If you persist in dwelling in health, though your body now feels weak, strength will arise. If you persist in joy, though sorrow now surrounds you, gladness will break forth like the dawn. For the law cannot fail. Every place the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you. It is given already, complete, perfect, waiting only for you to tread upon it. Stand therefore in the land of your desire. Leave your shoes there. Abide there in imagination. And though the world may mock, though appearances may resist, the law will not return void. You will eat the fruit of the land where you have chosen to dwell. Close your eyes and let the scene rise within you. See yourself standing before a threshold, the threshold of your desire, the doorway of your fulfilled wish. In your hands you hold your shoes, the instruments of contact with the world, the symbols of your intention. Where will you place them tonight? Imagine the floor beneath you polished and warm, a floor that opens into a hall of abundance, where the air carries the scent of plenty, where laughter and the gentle rustle of life speak in tones of assurance that all is already yours. See the rich tapestries upon the walls, the golden gleam of vessels that hold the fruit of the earth, the soft cushions that invite ease, the subtle gleam of light on crystal. Feel the weight of the shoes in your hands as if they are a token, a bridge between the inner and the outer. To place them here is to declare that you abide in the house of fulfillment, that you accept the reality of the unseen as the reality of your now. The imagination is no idle fancy. It is the doorway, the sacred chamber in which the unseen molds itself into form. As you see the scene, feel it, taste it, breathe it, the walls of your room dissolve, the ordinary pavement of your street fades, and you walk upon the rich carpet of your own conception. There is a voice, soft but certain, whispering, "It is done, it is yours." You may think it is only a dream, yet the dream is the seed of fact, the pattern by which your future must unfold. Every night, as you revisit this hall, as you leave your shoes in its vestibule, you establish a covenant with the unseen. You tell the world, "I belong here, I have entered, I claim what is already mine." The external may yet deny it, appearances may yet resist, but the inner acceptance ripples outward, and the outer world must answer in time. Do you feel the floor beneath you, the warmth of it, the secure resonance of a place already yours? That is the secret. The outer world is merely the echo of the inner state. When you imagine with all the subtlety of your senses, the world has no choice but to conform. Your hands feel the smoothness of the leather of your shoes, the soft embrace of the laces, the subtle pressure of the insole. These details are not mere figments, they are the language by which the unseen understands you. You are speaking to the universe in the dialect of perception, in the grammar of feeling. And the universe listens, always answers, always manifests. Now, let the vision broaden. Imagine walking across the hall, shoes in hand, and stepping into the room of your desire. Perhaps it is wealth, a home furnished with abundance, a table laden with the fruits of your intention. Perhaps it is love, the smile of one who greets you, the warmth of acceptance, the quiet joy of recognition. Perhaps it is health, the steady rhythm of strength and vitality flowing through your frame, each cell humming with life. You may see these things, you may feel these things, yet know they exist first in the current of your thought, and they will appear in form, because form must follow state. Do not hurry to evidence. Do not wait for the outer door to open. Stand in the inner room and claim it. Walk in it. Leave your shoes there. Feel the possession of the unseen as the possession of reality. The state you occupy in imagination precedes the fact in the outer world. This is the law, the great principle that governs every manifestation. Consider the tale of a man who was destitute, yet nightly he would lie upon his simple bed and imagine himself entering the halls of a magnificent estate. He felt the polished rail beneath his hand, the heavy doors that swung to welcome him, the voice that said, "You are home." Each night he returned, each night he walked the corridors, each night he left his shoes at the door of fulfillment. And one day, when he awoke in the outer world, he found a letter awaiting him, a forgotten debt paid tenfold, and doors opened that had long been closed. He had not struggled, he had not prayed with lips alone. He had assumed, he had walked inwardly, and the fact followed. Notice the rhythm of this truth. The inner state must be complete, rich, and alive. You cannot assume a half-formed vision and expect full manifestation. The man who enters the hall must linger, touch, feel, breathe, embrace, and know every detail as already present. For the law is impartial and only responds to completeness. You must enter the room of your desire as you would a home you have inherited. Walk its halls, sit in its chairs, feel the warmth of its fire, listen to the music of its quiet abundance, and as you leave your shoes at its door, you establish a permanent claim. You are no longer a passerby in the desert of lack, you are a resident of the kingdom you have imagined, and so it is with all things. If you desire money, hold in imagination the crisp notes in your hand, hear the rustle of coins, feel the weight of security, and see the ledger of your life balanced in perfect provision. If you desire love, Imagine the smile that greets you, the tender voice that welcomes, the gentle touch that confirms your place in another's heart. If you desire health, imagine the firm muscles, the supple joints, the rhythmic breath, the ease of vitality coursing through your body. In each instance, the outer world is not yet the measure. The inner state is the proof. Your imagination is the soil, your belief is the water, the manifestation is the bloom. Do not be discouraged by outer evidence. It is but a shadow of the inner truth. Appearances may resist, they may seem contrary, yet what is imagined with feeling cannot fail. Imagine the scene, feel the scene, and leave your shoes in the hall of fulfillment each night. You are planting seeds, watering them with your concentrated thought, and allowing the law to work unseen. When you awaken, circumstances will shift, people will respond, doors will open, and the outer world will mirror the state you have faithfully maintained. The act of assumption is a silent authority. It speaks without words, commands without force, and shapes without effort. Every parable, every story of manifestation attests to this law. A man may pray and fast, but if his imagination is impoverished, his outer life reflects the poverty he consents to within. Another may live in the streets, yet nightly he walks in palaces, leaving his shoes on the marble of abundance, and the universe conspires to bring him into those very palaces. The outer form must follow the inner law. There is no exception, there is no compromise, there is only obedience to the current of assumption. Where you stand inwardly, there you shall be outwardly. Where you place your shoes, there your life will tread. And so I invite you now to linger in the scene. Imagine the details, the textures, the sounds, the smells, the weight of the shoes, the warmth of the floor, the gentle acknowledgement of the universe that you are home. Let your senses be engaged, for it is through the senses that consciousness anchors itself. Feel the authority of the inner act, the completeness of your assumption, the certainty of your claim. You are not dreaming, you are creating. You are not hoping, you are commanding. You are not waiting, you are already there, and the outer world must obey. Consider too that this is not a single act, but a nightly practice, a continual entering, a faithful dwelling. Each evening, as you prepare for rest, you may find your mind wandering to the cares of the day, to the appearances that contradict your desire. Gently, but firmly redirect it. Place your shoes at the door of the hall, close your eyes, breathe, feel, and walk the corridors again. Touch the furniture, lift the coins, hear the voices, smell the air. Each night, the state becomes stronger, the law responds more swiftly, and the outer world bends with increasing certainty to your assumption. The invisible is real, the visible must follow. And remember, the state you occupy inwardly is eternal. Time does not affect it, nor do appearances disturb it. The man who dwells inwardly in wealth, who leaves his shoes upon the threshold of abundance, walks through years and circumstances untouched, for the law answers only to consciousness. It does not judge by the calendar, it does not hesitate for the seasons. It is immediate, exact, and faithful. The unseen is the source, the seen is the reflection. Step inwardly, linger in the hall of your imagining, and the facts will align. Feel now the joy, the completeness, the satisfaction of having entered. Know that it is yours to do again and again, each night a step further into the reality of your desire. The shoes remain at the door. The hall is alive with your presence. The universe has acknowledged your claim. The outer world may yet resist, but it cannot resist forever. You have sown the seed, nurtured it with sensation, and the harvest is inevitable. Walk in the unseen, dwell in the state, and know that the law of manifestation is unerring. ChatGPT said, now consider the act of faith, not the faith of the lips, not the faith of words repeated in hope, but the faith of feeling, the faith that lives and breathes within you, the faith that does not question appearances, but rests quietly in the certainty of its assumption. Faith is the conscious placement of your shoes at the threshold of the unseen, the deliberate standing in a state of fulfillment, The inner knowing that the hall of your desire is alive and awaiting you, even if the outer world appears barren. To sustain this faith is to anchor yourself in the reality of the invisible, to dwell where nothing yet seems to exist, and yet to act as though it is fully present, complete, and unavoidable. Faith is not a wish, it is a command. It does not tremble with doubt. It does not whisper, it declares. It says, "It is done," and the world bends to acknowledge it. The act of faith is the very moment in which creation bends itself to your will, for the law responds not to the outer evidence, but to the inner conviction, the state that leaves your shoes at the door of fulfillment, confident that the outer world must follow. Feel this now. Imagine the outer world in all its apparent chaos, the streets that seem barren, the accounts that appear empty, the conversations that discourage, the doors that remain closed. All these things are but shadows, reflections of the inner state that is not yet fully acknowledged. Yet, in your inner room, the hall of fulfillment stretches endlessly, rich and alive. Feel yourself walking its corridors, touching the railings, lifting the coins, tasting the fruit of provision, listening to the music of joy. That feeling is faith. That feeling is the command that brings the outer into alignment with the inner. Do not allow the shadows to disturb this practice. The outer world is only a mirror. Faith sees beyond the mirror. Faith walks through the walls of doubt and enters the rooms of certainty. Faith leaves the shoes in the hall of fulfillment and turns away from the mirror of lack. Faith requires perseverance. It is not fleeting. It does not rise and fall with every passing circumstance. Consider the parable of the man who assumed wealth nightly, though by day he possessed nothing. Each evening he entered the palace in imagination, left his shoes upon the polished marble, felt the richness of the air, the warmth of welcome, the satisfaction of having arrived. Morning after morning, he awoke in the outer world with no evidence of the palace he had walked in the night, yet he returned faithfully each evening. And then, as if by the natural law of response, the doors opened. A forgotten check arrived, an opportunity revealed itself, a provision he had never seen before. The outer world conformed, inevitably, to the state he had assumed. What he had done nightly in imagination, faithfully, had been answered. The law cannot be denied. The outer appearance may resist, but faith is the inner force that bends reality to the certainty of its assumption. Faith is silent, and yet it speaks. It does not demand with shouting. It does not petition with pleading. It dwells quietly, confidently in the unseen. It is the seed from which manifestation grows. When you place your shoes in the hall of fulfillment, when you imagine yourself walking the corridors, when you feel the ownership of your desire as present, you are performing an act of faith that no outer circumstance can undo. The unseen is real, the seen is mutable. Your faith is the instrument by which the unseen becomes the seen. Hold this faith with devotion, with reverence, and with joyous expectation. Allow it to saturate every thought, every feeling, every gesture of your inner life. The world will respond as surely as day follows night. And now consider the mystical closing, the secret that binds all previous instruction into a single, powerful act. When night falls, when your body rests and your senses grow quiet, you have the opportunity to leave your shoes at the door of fulfillment and to dwell completely in the state of your assumption. Feel it as if it is reality itself. Imagine the weight of abundance, the richness of health, the harmony of relationships, the satisfaction of every longing fulfilled. Let the senses taste the sweetness, the ears hear the music, the touch feel the texture of reality perfected. This is the mystical act, the silent surrender to the law that you have chosen. You do not pray for it, you do not hope for it, you enter it as though it were always yours, and in doing so, you create the conditions by which the outer world must conform. Visualize your night as a sacred journey. The shoes you leave at the door are the symbol of consent, the evidence of your commitment, the key to the unfolding of all that you have imagined. Walk through the halls, linger in the chambers, hear the voices, feel the comfort, and let the certainty of the inner act permeate every fiber of your being. You are the resident of the hall, the owner of the floor, the inheritor of all the treasures within, and as sleep draws near, allow this state to settle like a golden light within you. It is alive, it is vibrant, it is real. The law of manifestation will answer it faithfully, inevitably. Imagine now that the world without seeks to deny, to resist, to contradict the reality you have claimed. Do not falter. Each shadow, each obstacle, each seeming lack is only a test of persistence, a call to deepen the inner state. Continue to enter the hall, continue to place your shoes at the threshold, continue to feel, to see, to experience the fullness of your desire. Every repetition, every night, strengthens the law. Every act of faithful assumption builds a current that flows irresistibly toward manifestation. Nothing is outside the law. Nothing escapes the fidelity of the unseen. Your persistent act of faith ensures that what you have imagined as real cannot fail. Consider the silent joy of one who has mastered this art. No longer does he look to the world for evidence. No longer does he bow to appearances. The hall of fulfillment awaits him nightly. The shoes are placed, the corridors walked, the treasures handled, the music heard, the air fragrant with provision. He rises each morning confident, not because he sees the manifestation yet, but because he knows it is inevitable. The world bends before such certainty. The outer form cannot resist the inner authority. Faith, when sustained, becomes irresistible. It moves the unseen into form with effortless precision. And so, as you approach your nightly rest, imagine the act of leaving your shoes at the door as the culmination of all inner work. Feel the weight, the position, the significance. Walk the corridors, touch the furniture, lift the coins, hear the voices, see the halls lighted with assurance. Allow the state to saturate you completely. There is no hurry, no struggle, no question. You are where you belong. The unseen acknowledges you. The law moves at your direction. Tomorrow, the outer world will mirror the state you have assumed tonight. The mystical closing is not a mere suggestion, it is the key to creation. Leave the shoes in the hall of fulfillment, linger in the state, and know that all is done. Do not allow fatigue, distraction, or doubt to weaken this practice. Your imagination is the sanctuary, the hall, the treasury. Your faith is the law, the authority, the instrument. Each evening, enter fully, place your shoes, walk the corridors, feel the treasures, and rest in the reality of the unseen. The universe will respond, not in hurry, but in perfect timing. The act of faith, combined with the mystical closing, guarantees the manifestation. Night after night, this becomes a rhythm, a sacred dance between imagination and reality, desire and fulfillment, thought and form. The law answers, the unseen obeys, the outer world manifests. Now, feel the quiet power of this knowledge within you. Let it pulse through your consciousness like a living current. Each night, each act, each deliberate placement of your shoes at the threshold of your desired state cements the law, strengthens the unseen, and assures the inevitable appearance of all you have imagined. This is no fantasy. This is the law made visible. The unseen is your kingdom, the shoes are your sign, faith is your authority. Walk in it nightly, breathe in it, live in it. The outer world, sooner or later, must conform. The mystical closing is not the end, but the eternal continuation of the act of creation, a current that flows from thought to feeling to form with perfect fidelity. Poverty is not found in the streets, nor in the empty cupboards, nor in the outward appearances that greet you each day. Poverty is the shadow of forgetfulness, a forgetfulness of the power that is already yours, a forgetfulness of the kingdom that lies within, waiting only for recognition. The child of a king, wandering among the ragged and the poor, is still a prince, still clothed in the dignity of inheritance, still the heir to all that the palace holds, yet he wanders blind to the wealth that is his. So it is with man. So it is with you. You have forgotten where you left your shoes. the shoes that symbolize your consent to dwell in abundance. You have abandoned them at the door of want, and the world answers faithfully. The outer form is no measure, the inner state is everything. Remember, and the outer world must conform. Remember, and the halls of your imagination will become streets of gold. Remember, and the forgotten treasures will rise to meet you. Forgetfulness is the only poverty, and remembrance is the doorway to wealth. Now, let your mind linger on the act of remembering. Recall not the failures, not the lack, not the impossibility that others may have whispered to you. Recall, instead, the secret chambers of your consciousness, where the seeds of every desire were sown. Return to that sacred place where you last left your shoes upon the floor of fulfillment, where you last walked the corridors of abundance, where you last felt the warmth and the certainty of your imagined reality. It is not far. It is only a thought away. The universe bends to memory, to recognition, to the act of return. As you remember, as you revisit the state, the outer world begins to answer. Forgotten debts are repaid. Opportunities long hidden present themselves. Doors that were closed swing open, and the echo of your inner state becomes the rhythm of the outer life. Feel now the subtle joy of this remembrance. Imagine the light spilling through the corridors, the polished floor reflecting the certainty of your claim. Hear again the voices of welcome, the laughter that affirms you, the gentle music of satisfaction that resonates in every corner of the hall. Touch the treasures, lift the coins, feel the smoothness of every surface, the warmth of every touch. These are not illusions. They are the signals to the unseen that your claim is unwavering, that your shoes are rightly placed, that your consciousness abides in the state of fulfillment. As you remember, the world cannot resist. As you remember, the invisible bends to form. As you remember, the promise of the scripture becomes visible, and every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon becomes a land already given to you. And so you see the power of recollection, the power of return. It is a mystical act, for it reverses the course of neglect and restores the law of assumption. The shoes abandoned in the dust of fear, in the alleyways of doubt, in the corridors of resignation, are lifted once more and placed firmly upon the threshold of promise. You are no longer a wanderer, you are a resident. You have entered consciously, deliberately, joyfully, and the outer world, being faithful to law, must respond. Remember that poverty is only a memory of forgetfulness, and abundance is the eternal truth of remembrance. Let your mind now stretch to the richness of this remembrance. Picture, as clearly as you can, the corridors of your desire. Walk them deliberately. Touch the furnishings, feel the weight of abundance in your hands, hear the soft rustle of prosperity, taste the sweetness of provision. Each sensation is a word spoken to the universe, a command whispered to the law, a signal that the inner state is complete and fully alive. Do not rush, linger. Let the details be vivid, rich, and convincing. Let your senses saturate the vision until it is more real than any shadow of lack the outer world presents. This is the art of remembrance. This is the method by which the unseen becomes the seen. This is how you retrieve your shoes from the alley of forgetfulness and place them firmly in the mansion of your fulfilled desire. Abundance is the natural condition of man, yet it is only acknowledged when remembered. Health is the natural state of the body, yet it is only realized when recalled in feeling and assumption. Love, joy, freedom, prosperity, all are eternally present, yet they abide unnoticed until the mind returns to them, until the imagination retraces the corridors of fulfillment, until the shoes are once again properly placed. Each night, this act of remembrance becomes a rhythm, a sacred ritual, a current flowing between the unseen and the seen, between desire and realization, between the inner state and the outer fact. It is simple yet absolute, gentle yet irresistible, unseen yet omnipotent. Feel now the ease of this law. There is no striving here, no petition, no begging, no outer demonstration necessary. The act of return, the act of remembrance, the act of consciously placing your shoes at the threshold of fulfillment is enough. The unseen responds with perfect fidelity. Your imagination, alive with sensation, saturated with belief, vivid in detail, is the garden in which the harvest grows. Your outer life is but the echo of this inner state. Remember the scripture, every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon has already been given. It is waiting only for your conscious assumption, your remembrance, your deliberate inhabitation. And now, feel the joy of retrieval, the thrill of return. Picture the man who, though he had wandered in poverty for years, suddenly remembers the halls of his inheritance. He lifts his shoes from the alley of forgetfulness and steps into the golden corridors of abundance. The air vibrates with welcome, the walls glisten with acknowledgement, the treasures rise to meet him, every footstep affirms that he has arrived. This is not a story of luck, not a tale of chance. It is the natural law of the universe in action, responding without error to the inner state of consciousness. What you remember, you recover. What you assume, you achieve. What you feel, you manifest. Consider the subtlety of this process. You do not need to visualize 1,000 outcomes. You do not need to imagine every detail of your day. You need only to place your shoes where they belong, to dwell inwardly in the state of fulfillment, to feel the richness, the certainty, the completion of your desire. The outer world obeys, the unseen answers, the law moves without delay. Time is irrelevant, appearances are irrelevant, only the vividness, the completeness, the faithfulness of your inner act matters. This is the power of remembrance, the power of conscious assumption, the power that converts thought into reality and imagination into manifestation. Now allow the current of this truth to carry you deeper. Sense how every moment of forgetfulness has been a shadow, a drift from your kingdom, a temporary wandering. Now reclaim the state. Let it pulse through you. The corridors are yours, the shoes are properly placed, the hall is alive with your presence. Feel the certainty, the satisfaction, the quiet joy of one who has remembered and returned. This is the law at work. This is the power of consciousness. This is the unfolding of the unseen into form. As you rest in this state each night, as you linger in the vision, as you saturate it with sensation and belief, the outer world aligns naturally, inevitably, irresistibly. And so, remember always to return, to lift, to place, to dwell. Forgetfulness is the only poverty. Remembrance is the doorway to abundance. Where you left your shoes, there you shall walk. Where you remember to place them in the hall of fulfillment, there your life will reflect the richness of the unseen. Every evening, enter the hall, walk the corridors, touch the treasures, hear the voices, feel the air, taste the sweetness of what is already yours. The law will answer faithfully, the universe will respond perfectly, and the outer world, in time, will mirror the state you have assumed, cherished, and remembered. Let us now linger upon the subtle power of expectation, the silent yet irresistible current that flows from the unseen to form. Expectation is not a hope, nor a wish, nor a tentative leaning toward possibility. Expectation is the firm placing of your consciousness in the state of fulfillment, the knowing that what you have imagined has already come to pass. It is the faithful attendance upon the unseen, the daily rehearsal of the reality you desire, the deliberate inhabitation of the hall where your shoes are laid upon the polished floor of abundance. Imagine now the weight of this expectation. Feel it as a substance, tangible in the chest, radiating warmth through the limbs, coloring thought with certainty. You do not question, you do not doubt, you do not look to the outer world for affirmation, for expectation is its own evidence. The world will answer as faithfully as the morning sun rises, but the outer form is never the proof. The proof is the state you inhabit, the certainty that pulses in the inner chambers of your being. Let your imagination sweep wide now. Picture the hall of your desire, not merely as a room, but as a palace, each corridor echoing with the music of fulfillment, each chamber brimming with the unspoken richness of what you have assumed. Place your shoes at the entrance as a sign of your consent, a silent contract with the unseen, a testimony that you dwell inwardly in the state you wish to see manifest. Feel the smoothness of the floor beneath your feet, the subtle vibrations of a world fully aligned with your inner expectation. Hear the soft resonance of voices that affirm your presence. Feel the warmth of an invisible welcome. Taste the certainty that all provision, all abundance, all joy is already yours. You walk these halls daily, nightly, with deliberate intent, and every repetition cements the law. The universe cannot resist the authority of sustained assumption. Consider now the delicate artistry of inner attention. Do not scatter it. Do not drift in doubt. Every thought, every sensation, every gesture of consciousness must be placed upon the object of your expectation. To allow the mind to wander into lack is to loosen the foundation, to leave the shoes in the dust. To remain inwardly focused, to feel fully the textures, the sounds, the weight, the fragrance, the presence of what is already yours, is to strengthen the invisible current that must answer. Expectation is not passive. It is the active force, the unseen hammer that shapes the clay of reality. It does not complain, it does not doubt, it does not hurry, it acts silently, invisibly, with absolute precision. And yet, because it is unceasing, because it is unwavering, it moves the outer world without fail. Think for a moment of the man who expected wealth while surrounded by apparent poverty. Each evening he entered the hall of his imagination, placed his shoes firmly upon the polished floor, touched the treasures, heard the music, and breathed the air of fulfillment. By day he walked the streets of want, yet he was untouched, for the inner state carried him above appearances. And then, in perfect time, as though the law itself could not delay, the outer world conformed. A forgotten debt paid, an unexpected opportunity presented, the doors of fortune opened. Expectation, when nurtured with attention and saturated with feeling, becomes irresistible. The unseen yields, and form inevitably follows. And now let us move further into the power of feeling, for expectation alone is incomplete without sensation. You cannot merely imagine, you must feel. You cannot only think, you must live the reality of your assumption within the body, within the heart, within the pulse of consciousness itself. Close your eyes and feel the hall around you. Feel the texture of your shoes as they rest at the threshold, the polished floor beneath your feet, the soft murmur of abundance flowing like a quiet river. Feel the air rich with possibility, the warmth of recognition, the resonance of the unseen affirming your presence. This feeling is the law made tangible. This feeling is the instrument of creation. This feeling binds the unseen to the seen, the inner world to the outer, the imagined to the actual. Do not mistake the outer for the inner. The world will always present shadows, interruptions, delays, and apparent contradictions. These are but tests, invitations to deepen the current of expectation, to enrich the feeling, to strengthen the act of sustained assumption. If you waver, the outer will wobble. If you linger faithfully, the outer must bow. It is simple yet absolute, gentle, yet inescapable, invisible, yet infinitely potent. The unseen is real, the seen is mutable. The law obeys only consciousness, only the inner state, only the fully assumed reality. Now, picture the man who has mastered both expectation and feeling. He rises each morning confident, not because the outer world reflects his desire, but because he inhabits a state of fulfillment that cannot be denied. He walks through the corridors of his imagined palace each evening, leaving his shoes at the door, touching treasures, hearing music, smelling the air, feeling abundance in every fiber of being. And when the outer world presents obstacles, he smiles silently, for he knows they are but shadows, reflections of lack that he no longer consents to. He dwells above them, not in denial, but in conscious triumph. Every thought, every sensation, every act confirms the inner state, and the law moves obediently, irresistibly, to make the unseen manifest. Consider too the rhythm of repetition. Each night, the hall opens, the shoes are placed, the treasures are touched, the music is heard, the air is breathed, the certainty saturates every cell. Each repetition strengthens the current, each return deepens the law, each sensation binds the invisible to the visible with ever-increasing fidelity. Expectation, feeling, assumption. They are the instruments by which reality is shaped, the tools by which man treads upon every place already given. The outer form follows not the day, not the hour, not the circumstances, but the constancy and richness of the inner act. Do you feel the subtle power of this law? It is gentle, yet unyielding. It bends time, it shapes events, it transforms people, it arranges circumstances. The outer world is merely the echo, the inner world is the authority. Your expectation, sustained with feeling, is the command the universe obeys without question. Imagine it now, the polished floor, the warm air, the music, the treasures, the shoes at the threshold, your confident stride through corridors that have always been yours. Saturate the scene with every sense. The law responds to completeness, to conviction, to richness of sensation, to faith unwavering. Nothing in the outer world can undo this, nothing can resist it. And as you feel this, know that this power is yours to use consciously, deliberately, and continuously. You are the master of your inner state, the holder of the unseen key, the authority whose assumption compels manifestation. Each day, each evening, each deliberate act of imagination, expectation, and feeling strengthens the law, accelerates the manifestation, and brings the outer world into alignment with the reality you have already assumed. This is the essence of creation. Consciousness is the source, imagination is the vehicle, feeling is the force, expectation is the current, the outer world is the reflection. Imagine now the fullness of your mastery. Each night, you place your shoes in the hall of fulfillment. Each night, you walk its corridors. Each night, you touch the treasures, hear the music, breathe the air, and feel the richness of reality fully present. By day, the outer world conforms inevitably. There is no delay beyond the necessary adjustment of form. There is no resistance that can withstand the unbroken, fully assumed inner state. You are the conductor of the invisible symphony, the master of the unseen, the occupant of the kingdom that always existed within you. Expectation, enriched by feeling, guided by faith, sustained by repetition, becomes irresistible, absolute, eternal. Now let us descend even deeper into the subtle alchemy of consciousness, where imagination, feeling, and assumption merge into a current that cannot be resisted. Consider the act of deliberate dwelling, the sacred commitment to remain in the state of fulfillment, to occupy fully the hall of your desire, to walk its corridors nightly with the shoes of your consent placed firmly at the threshold. This is the art of sustained assumption, the invisible architecture by which your reality is formed. Each moment that you linger, that you feel the weight of abundance, that you touch the treasures, hear the music, smell the air of fulfillment, you are sending a pulse into the universe so precise, so irresistible, that the outer world cannot refuse it. The law bends silently, faithfully, inevitably to the inner act. Appearances may suggest delay, but the delay is a figment. The inner state has already accomplished its work. Imagine now the man who, by day, walks among empty streets, empty shelves, empty hands, yet by night inhabits palaces rich with abundance. He leaves his shoes at the door of his imagined hall, steps lightly upon polished floors, lifts treasures with ease, feels the richness as though it were a tangible garment draped upon him. By morning, though the outer world still whispers of lack, he does not waver. Each evening he returns, each evening he repeats the act of assumption, each evening he saturates the scene with sensation and certainty. And inevitably, as if the law itself cannot delay, the world conforms. Forgotten opportunities are restored, unexpected provision arrives, doors that had been sealed swing wide. The outer world is simply the echo of the inner law obeyed. Now let your mind dwell on the richness of feeling, for assumption is nothing without the vivifying pulse of sensation. It is not enough to imagine a hall, you must breathe its air, hear its music, feel the textures beneath your fingertips, sense the weight of provision in your hands, taste the sweetness of satisfaction. This feeling is the signal to the unseen, the instrument by which the invisible shapes the visible. Without it, imagination floats like a cloud, untethered and ineffective. With it, assumption becomes a river flowing inexorably toward manifestation. Each touch, each breath, each thought anchored in feeling is a note in the symphony of creation, compelling the outer world to obey the inner law. Consider the precision of this act. The law answers not to desire alone, nor to hope, nor to intention that drifts. It answers to the state fully assumed, to the condition in which you dwell completely in the reality of your fulfilled wish. The outer world may resist, it may seem contradictory, but the inner state, unwavering, immovable, and rich with sensation, bends time, circumstance, and form to itself. The man who masters this act no longer prays for evidence, he no longer pleads for manifestation. He assumes, he dwells, he feels, and the universe moves to obey. The shoes at the threshold are the outward sign, the echo, the symbol, but the inner act is the law itself. Now, let us contemplate the subtle but profound power of alignment, the effortless harmonization of inner and outer, of imagination and reality, of thought and sensation. When you leave your shoes in the hall of fulfillment and enter the corridors of your assumed state, every cell, every fiber, every thought aligns with the reality you have chosen. There is no friction, no hesitation, no questioning. The universe, seeing only the state of consciousness, conforms naturally, effortlessly, inevitably. The outer world is a mirror. The mirror obeys the angles and light you have set. Align yourself fully within, saturate the scene with feeling, occupy the hall as though it were your dwelling, and the outer world will follow without delay, without resistance, without error. Picture now the subtleties of this alignment. The man does not merely see the treasures, he touches them. He does not merely imagine the air, he breathes it as though real. He does not merely hope for voices, he hears their resonance, soft and affirming, as though they have always awaited him. Every sense is engaged, every detail alive. The law responds to richness of perception, to completeness of assumption, to the fidelity of inner attention. In this act, the unseen becomes visible, the imagined becomes tangible, and the outer world is compelled to reflect the inner state. The shoes remain at the threshold, not as a trinket, but as a witness to the law obeyed, a signal to consciousness that the act of alignment has been fulfilled. Consider the persistence of this law. Nights follow days, days follow nights, yet the man returns faithfully. Each evening, he enters the hall of his imagination, places his shoes, feels the textures, hears the music, breathes the air, saturates the scene with complete conviction. And gradually, subtly, but with perfect inevitability, the outer world bends. He finds forgotten debts paid, opportunities revealed, people guided into his path, circumstances arranged without effort, without struggle, without external endeavor. The law answers only to the inner state. Appearances are irrelevant, timing is inconsequential, only the fidelity of assumption matters. The outer world must obey, and the man becomes a master of his destiny. Now let your imagination dwell on the permanence of this act. Once you have assumed the state fully, once you have placed your shoes at the threshold of fulfillment, the law is irreversible. The unseen has received the command, the current is flowing, the outer world must follow. Nothing can undo it, not delay, not doubt, not the seeming resistance of circumstance. The act of dwelling, of feeling, of complete assumption has set in motion a chain of events that will culminate inevitably in manifestation. You are no longer at the mercy of chance, of others, of circumstances. You are the authority. You are the law's instrument. You are the master of the unseen. Feel now the joy and certainty of this mastery. Imagine the corridors alive with the presence of your assumption, the air thick with the certainty of fulfillment, the treasures arranged as you have imagined, the music of acknowledgement flowing through the halls. Each step you take in imagination resonates through time and form, guiding the outer world into alignment. The shoes at the threshold are more than a symbol. They are the evidence of your inner sovereignty, the outward expression of your unbroken faith, the silent declaration to the universe that the inner state is complete and must be mirrored in the outer world. Let this mastery saturate your consciousness. Each evening, enter the hall. Each night, place the shoes. Each moment, feel the textures, the sounds, the air, the weight of fulfillment. Let the law respond. Let the universe yield. Let the outer world reflect the invisible state. This is not effort, this is obedience to law. This is alignment with the eternal. This is the act by which the unseen becomes the seen, the imagined becomes tangible, and the inner authority of consciousness compels manifestation. Now imagine the perfection of this process over time. Nights and days follow, yet the man's commitment never falters. The inner act grows stronger, the current flows more powerfully, the outer world aligns more swiftly. Forgotten debts are restored, opportunities multiply, doors swing wide, recognition arrives, and provision flows with ease. The outer world, once a field of resistance, becomes the mirror of inner sovereignty. Each repetition, each sustained assumption, each act of deliberate dwelling, strengthens the law, solidifies the manifestation, and confirms the eternal truth. The world obeys consciousness, the outer form reflects the inner state, and what is imagined and felt with completeness cannot fail. Now let us enter the final layers of understanding, where the fullness of manifestation unfolds effortlessly when consciousness is consciously surrendered to its creative authority. Consider the shoes you have placed at the threshold of fulfillment. They are more than mere symbols. They are sacred markers of consent, silent witnesses to the alignment of your inner state with the eternal law. They declare without words that you have returned, that you have remembered, that you dwell within the hall of your desire as though it were always yours. This act, simple in appearance yet profound in its potency, resonates through the unseen, stirring currents of manifestation that cannot be withheld. Each time you repeat it, the current grows stronger, more vibrant, more irresistible. Each evening, each deliberate step, each breath filled with the sensation of fulfillment, signals the law to move and the outer world to mirror the inner kingdom you inhabit. Picture now the hall in vivid detail, alive and complete with all the riches of your assumption. The polished floor gleams with the light of certainty. The treasures are arranged exactly as you have imagined. The music flows softly, affirming your presence. The air vibrates with the quiet hum of provision and ease. You move through it, touching, feeling, hearing, tasting, inhaling the richness as though it were tangible reality. Each sensation is an affirmation, a proof to the law that the state is fully assumed, fully inhabited, fully complete. Do not rush, do not distract. Stay within the hall. Touch each surface, lift each treasure, listen to each note, breathe deeply of the atmosphere. This is not imagination in play, this is consciousness in command, exercising its rightful authority over the unseen and the seen alike. Consider the fidelity of the law. It does not question your desires, it does not negotiate with appearances, it does not falter with delay. It responds only to the inner state, to the richness of your assumption, to the completeness of your sensation, to the unwavering certainty of your conscious inhabitation of fulfillment. Place your shoes nightly at the threshold, and the law acknowledges. Walk the hall with deliberate intent, and the outer world must align. Breathe the air of provision, and circumstances arrange themselves. Hear the music of satisfaction, and opportunities appear. Taste the certainty, and wealth flows to meet you. This is the simplicity and perfection of the law. What is assumed, inhabited, and felt fully cannot fail. Now, feel the quiet joy of mastery. You have returned to the hall. reclaimed your shoes, and aligned yourself with the law. The outer world may still whisper shadows of doubt, may present apparitions of lack, may offer the illusion of delay. Do not falter. Do not chase the evidence. Do not plead with appearances. They are but reflections of the consciousness that has wandered. You have remembered. You have returned. You dwell in the state. That state is sovereign. That state is irresistible. That state bends all things to its measure. The outer world is compelled to reflect it, inevitably, unerringly, perfectly. Visualize the unbroken rhythm of this practice. Each evening, you enter the hall. Each evening, you place your shoes. Each evening, you walk the corridors, touch the treasures, hear the music, breathe the air, taste the fulfillment. Each repetition strengthens the current, solidifies the law, and ensures the outer world responds with precision. This is the art of conscious creation, attention, assumption, feeling, repetition, alignment. Each element perfects the other. Each element commands the law. Each element affirms the inevitable manifestation of your desire. There is no failure here, there is only fidelity. There is no lack here, there is only abundance fully acknowledged. Consider too the subtlety of timing. The outer world moves slowly only in appearance. The unseen acts instantly. The law obeys the moment your consciousness is fully occupied in the assumed state. As you place your shoes, breathe the air, touch the treasures, hear the music, feel the certainty, the currents of manifestation begin. The outer world unfolds in perfect sequence, in perfect alignment, according to divine timing, reflecting exactly what has been assumed. Patience is not idle waiting. It is the quiet confidence of one who knows the unseen has been commanded, who knows the law cannot fail, who knows the outer form is compelled by the inner authority. Now let your imagination dwell on the perfect confluence of inner and outer. Picture the hall teeming with light, the treasures arranged as though by divine hand, the music flowing like an invisible stream, the air alive with richness. You move deliberately, your shoes resting at the threshold, your touch precise, your senses alert. The outer world, though still seemingly distant, has begun to yield. Opportunities present themselves, provision arrives, doors open, and circumstances bend. All of this is the inevitable response to your sustained assumption, your deliberate dwelling, your complete inhabitation of the state. The outer world is but a mirror of your inner authority. The mirror cannot resist, it cannot refuse, it cannot falter. Feel now the joy of completeness. You have assumed fully. You have returned to the hall. You have placed your shoes at the threshold. You have breathed, touched, heard, and tasted the reality of your desire as though it were already given. This is the culmination of mastery. The outer world aligns not because of striving, not because of effort, not because of luck, but because the inner state is sovereign, rich, unwavering, and fully inhabited. The law of consciousness moves effortlessly to reflect what has been assumed and sustained with feeling. Each night, each repetition, each conscious act strengthens the current, assures the manifestation, and confirms the eternal principle: what is imagined and inhabited with completeness cannot fail. Consider the final mystery, the ultimate truth of this law. Poverty exists only where forgetfulness reigns. Wealth, provision, abundance, joy, fulfillment exist eternally within the inner kingdom. To leave your shoes in the dust is to consent to lack. To place them at the threshold of your assumed state is to reclaim sovereignty. Each night as you walk the halls of fulfillment, each night as you saturate the scene with sensation and certainty, the law responds faithfully. The unseen bends, the currents flow, the outer world reflects the inner authority. There is no failure, there is no delay that cannot be bridged, there is no circumstance that can resist the persistent, fully assumed inner state. Feel now the quiet ecstasy of alignment. The treasures await your touch, the music flows, the air vibrates with provision, the corridors are alive with certainty, the shoes are perfectly placed. This is the consummation of the mystical process: attention, assumption, feeling, expectation, repetition, alignment, remembrance. Each element perfects the other, each act reinforces the current, each repetition strengthens the law, and the outer world obeys without hesitation. You are the master, the sovereign, the authority of the unseen. The law of manifestation cannot refuse you. The hall is yours, the treasures are yours, the provision is yours, the joy, the wealth, the abundance, all are yours because you have returned, remembered, and assumed fully. Let this truth settle into your consciousness like a golden light. Each night, each evening, each deliberate act of placement, of dwelling, of feeling, is a note in the symphony of creation, a pulse in the current of law, a declaration that the unseen is sovereign and the outer world must bow. The shoes at the threshold are no longer mere symbols, they are instruments of the law, evidence of obedience, confirmation of mastery. Walk the hall, breathe the air, hear the music, touch the treasures, feel the certainty. The outer world responds, the current flows. The manifestation unfolds. What is imagined, inhabited, and felt fully cannot fail. This is the eternal principle, the law, the mystical truth, the path to complete fulfillment.